All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a bi-week edition of Pod by the Bay. I'm your host, Nathan Bond. Joined alongside me, Seth Varnadore, Robert Steeg. Before we get to the game itself, we kind of talked at the end of the last podcast to be safe and kind of heed warnings for this hurricane. And I think it kind of is lost because the Tampa Bay area especially has been pretty freaking lucky when it comes to hurricanes and everything of that nature. But you look at some of the devastation, St. Pete, Gulfport, Treasure Island. Seth, I know you've experienced it. These storms are no joke, folks. And I just want to kind of lead with that, at least for a moment, that, hey, these storms are legitimate. I know there's one possibly off in the distance over the next couple weeks. Hopefully it doesn't go anywhere near land. But I hope everybody is safe, secure. I know a lot of people may still be without power or got power back within the last couple of days. Please do not hesitate to reach out for help, advice, whatever you need. That's what the Discord's been for the last year and a half. People helping people while also, being fun and covering USF. We want to make sure that people in the USF community and in the community at large, spoiler, know that the Bay Area Examiner cares about you guys. And we will do what we can, point you guys in the right direction. If we don't have an answer, we'll find something for you. Just wanted to kind of get that out of the way. And then we can talk about the silly, funny, stupid football game that happened. But if you guys are okay and need help or whatever, please do not hesitate to reach out. That was a scary storm. I'll be the first one to tell you, North Tampa, very, very lucky. Barely anything. We watched movies and didn't really have to worry about a couple of tree branches, but I know other areas were severely affected. So just wanted to kind of get that out there. If you guys have anything to add, please do. I just wanted to at least start the podcast with a bit of seriousness. I know a lot of my coworkers got absolutely devastated. I work in Pinellas County, and the southern part of Pinellas got freaking hammered and up through Tarpon and everything of that nature.
Yeah, storm surge is legit. So,
real thing, turns out.
Don't mess with it. Yeah, I'm learning the hard way. Yeah.
On an unrelated note, Seth, that's a very nice backdrop.
Yes, it's a rental, so maybe in a different place for a few months or so. But it is a lovely little fireplace.
I do love the backsplash of the fireplace.
Yes,
so modern.
If we cover a win, I might turn it on and get a little sophisticated, turn the little fireplace on. There's a remote. I don't know if it works. Yeah, I might burn the house down with how it's going lately. We'll see. But yes, we'll have a fireside film room, maybe.
Oh, that would be so cute. Honestly, if I'm being totally honest, that'd be so cute.
Get a robe, maybe like a pipe.
A pipe?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely a pipe.
Just basically go Ebenezer Scrooge. I mean, we're getting close to the season, so maybe.
Yeah. There's a lot of bah humbug talking about offensive line. So.
Oh, brother, I don't even think the ghost of Christmas past is scared of what this offensive line has done over the last couple of weeks. We'll get to it. All right, now to the stupid stuff. Your South Florida Bulls got absolutely annihilated, decimated, embarrassed on national television. I mean, it was ESPNU, but still technically national television. 45-10. It wasn't even as close as the score indicates. It was 31-0 almost immediately. The Bulls salvage a touchdown right before the half. And then the thing that we've been kind of hoping would not happen, but then you see the offensive line play over the last month and a half, basically the first 5 games of the season, and you're like, oh, that makes sense. Unfortunately, it was a running back that kind of ended possibly the season for the Bulls. Byrum Brown goes down with an injury to his ankle. It did not look pretty on the first watch. I can tell you guys it did not look pretty on the second and third watch as I rewatched the game this week. There is not a single redeeming thing from this game. And Alex Golish in his press conference, post-game press conference on Saturday, basically said it reminded him of the UAB game. Now, if you remember the UAB game, UAB put up a 50 burger and it seemed real easy. And progress isn't linear. These things happen. But Seth, for the first time this season, outside of Bethune and Southern Miss, which you were a favorite, it was actually a close line conference game. This was a moment for you to say, hey, I am a real competitor in the American Athletic Conference, and pooping the bed doesn't do it justice, what this Bulls team did. What can you make of what Saturday was for this fan base?
Well, I know we talked last week about, why you thought maybe, I foolishly picked USF to be able to cover. And one of the reasons was you looked at, not common opponents, but kind of strength of schedule at that point. It seemed like it was probably about even. Tulane's 2 worst games were probably tougher than USF's 2 worst games, but USF's 2 hardest games were tougher than Tulane's, seemingly. So you thought that maybe it's even, and then you look at Tulane offensively, gave up a ton of pressure. So you thought, okay, maybe they can pressure the young quarterback, get him in some third and longs, and stop him on third downs, get off the field, think the defense can play well. And it was just a total backslide into some of the worst stuff from last year. And that was kind of the most concerning thing. And I don't know if it's just a function of like the way they play, because it's happened to Tennessee too. Like when they lose, they just get hammered. Like you think back to Golish's last year at Tennessee, I think South Carolina put up almost, was it 60 points or something like that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Hendon Hooker got hurt that game, and
yes.
it got out of hand quickly.
Yeah, and so maybe that's a function of just the way you play, but like that's twice the last couple of years where when you lose, you don't play close games basically, unless you're playing Alabama. For those are the close games.
Whatever, dude.
And that one didn't even turn out this year, but they lost. No, that was so. So that's kind of one thing that's, I don't know, I guess monitor. And even Golish talked about the UAB game. They played all right on offense at times in the UAB game. They didn't play very well at all in this game, I don't think. Yeah, South Carolina won 63-38 in 2022. So I don't know. Maybe some of this is a function of the offense, but available yards is a really fun stat that because it's a good measure. Because okay, well, if you get a turnover, you start on the 10-yard line and you score a touchdown, you say, oh, that's only 10 yards to drive. But available yards, it's 100% of the yards available to you to get. USF had 38%. They gained 38% of available yards. Tulane gained 89% of the available yards in the game. Over 60 yards a drive. That is insane.
That is terrible.
Yeah, so big backslide from the defense, which I thought at times, even against Miami, they were in position. I think Tulane had a pretty good plan to take care of how aggressive they were with a bunch of play action and crossers and making guys run through traffic, and they just could not do it, and they just got hammered up front as well. So it was like all your worst fears coming true in one game was pretty much what happened.
Yeah. So to that point, rewatching the game, that the very, very first play of the game for Tulane offensively, it's a high snap. Like Darian Mensah, who played lights out. Like kudos to him. We thought he was a good quarterback going into the game, and he proved it. We saw like the running back was great. Mario Williams is great. Like the guys that we highlighted that could present problems for USF presented a lot of problems for USF. First play of the game, it is a play action to Mekhi Hughes, and then Alex Bowman, it just streaking across the middle on a crosser route because Jalen Shuler, who made his return and then left almost immediately after, and Mac Harris got sucked up by the play action, and Bowman's just running across the field for 40 yards. That seemed to happen a lot. There was, I think, at least 2 rushing touchdowns where the Bulls didn't lay a hand on the running back. Mario Williams had a couple of touchdowns where he was just kind of wide open. This was respectfully a piss poor effort defensively. And I asked Alex Golish this Saturday after the game, and I in the moment when I said the word effort, I knew that's what he would hang on, and not hey, there was a lot of miscommunication. He just kind of hammered home the effort piece, saying, hey, this is not basically saying if I wouldn't highlight effort being an issue, I would push back on that slightly. And there was miscommunication. There was effort. The team just looked slow as hell the entire day. And I'm not entirely sure, if Golish saying in the lead up to the game, hey, we practice in the morning, so a noon 11 a.m. kick is not the worst thing in the world. Trying to psych himself up, psych the team up, hey, it doesn't matter, we practice in the morning, it's cool.
Yeah.
But this team, this is the second time in 2 years where this USF team, 2 different coaches, have just been super flat against Tulane on the road. I don't know if it's the turf that makes them super slow or what have you, but under Alex Golish, this team's gone down 14-0 a few times already. They've climbed back out of them, but they weren't able to do it against Tulane. And as you mentioned, with Golish at Tennessee, when it gets bad quick, and you can never recover from it.
Did they win the toss?
Never saw the toss. I didn't see the toss. I know they took the ball first, so I'm pretty sure Tulane won and deferred.
Never. Yeah.
And it's just
starting 3 and outs to start a game is always tough.
Yes, and what charting the first so Tulane won the toss and deferred to the second half. So USF went 3 and out. First down was a run. USF started at the 25. Touchback, start at the 25. So 1st and 10 from the USF 25-yard line. And we'll talk more about this in the Ponderosa. Just want to kind of give you an idea of what happened and what the precursor to all of this was. So again, USF started at the USF 25-yard line. Center Mike Lofton was at the USF 21.5-yard line after the ball was snapped on a run play. Guess how far upfield that run got? It was again a 0. That's a teaser for the Ponderosa folks. We talked about it last week. We got issues. RJ Perry was not in at left tackle. Jack Wilty moved from right guard to left tackle. Cole Best was in at left guard.
Saw Skinner in there as well at times.
We'll talk about that in the Ponderosa. All right. Oh, brother. There's issues. Byrum Brown he did not look right the first 4 games of the season. And I think this game was the closest example of basically, I would say the talent level in a vacuum is probably pretty similar. I mean, the line got down to Tulane minus 4.5. That's a home game. So neutral field, 2 points, 1.5, 2 points, give or take. Pretty close game on paper, right? The offensive line has been such an issue. It's going to detract from any of the skill that USF has. Running backs, quarterback, wide receiver, and we'll talk about the wide receivers. At some point that needs to get fixed. And I think that's the crux of the issue for the offense. So the offensive line is not good. And we'll get deeper into the numbers. On the flip side, defensively, I just think they're still bad. The talent's not there. I could be wrong. Seth, Steve, please chime in. You give up eight yards of play to Southern Miss. I gotta assume it's either scheme or the players, and we've blamed the defensive coordinator for like 7 years. So at what point is it on the players? They've started to get paid now. So is it okay to be like, hey, maybe the players just aren't good?
I think it's not to cop out an answer, but it seems like at times it's a combination of both. I mean, the thing, and Seth kind of alluded to it, and I made a mention of it, that because of the play style on both offense and defense, where the bread and butter is made on aggressiveness, right? Like the offense plays aggressive. If they'll run play after play after play. They'll pound plays. They'll pound deep shots. They'll do what they can there. Defensively, they'll basically do the same thing. Play man-to-man, put pressure, rush guys, do window dressing, but overall they put hands on guys immediately. And under the circumstances where the talent level is a little bit more disparaging, i.e. against like a Southern Miss, a Bethune-Cookman, you can get away with the aggressiveness, maybe not working every single play, but working often enough that you can win the game. I mean, like we can talk about that Southern Miss game. Actually, to talk about that Southern Miss game in a little bit more detail, for giving an 8-yard play, for having a whole lot of issues that game, you scored 49 points really easily, and you only, aside from putting yourself in a 14-0 hole, you gave up 10 points, pretty stoutly too. Again, stoutly meaning when, you bend and don't break and everything like that. And to Seth's point, I don't think that this is a bug of, and I hope this isn't going to be taken off the wrong way, and it probably will be. I can't wait to be on Nolan's shit list for this. I don't think that this is a bug of the USF football team right now. This is a feature of the USF football team. Is this aggressive nature? It's going to lead you to a 49 to 17 win against Southern Miss.
Yeah, 24
or 24. It'll lead you to a 49-24 win against Southern Miss, where you slip-walk the entire time in year 2 at least. But unfortunately, you're also going to be on the receiving end of the offense stalling and getting 3 and out the entire time. The defense giving up shots because crossers tend to be the crux of the team, especially on the out routes there. So when it comes down to it, and to an extent, that can get solved, but it is unfortunate because for a team like USF, it's not going to get solved from year 1 into year 2, from year 2 to year 3. That's something that gets solved when you have the recruits and the guys in play that can actually be talented, because you're still kind of working with, their talent. They're more talented in years past, but they're still not up to that level yet. Where say Tennessee year 2, they were able to take that next leap, that next giant leap under Josh Heupel, because they were able to get that talent immediately, that top level talent at Tennessee. So this right now is a feature of the USF football team. And that's good news and bad news. Because, again, you can get yourself out of a 14-0 hole. You can bend, don't break all day and all night by forcing turnovers. But then on the flip side, you're going to have stinkers because, if you get put up in a bad matchup, hey, it happens. That's all it is at this point.
And, Seth, we talked about it all off season, right? Like, the first 6 games of this schedule were absolutely brutal. You were definitely in line to start 2-4, and USF is definitely in line to still start 2-4. And the back half of that season, maybe aside from Navy now, who looks really good through 4 weeks, it's still a very winnable schedule. You could still end up with 6 or 7 wins. How you got to 2-3 is alarming. For a coach that talks process all the time, it's tough to justify what fans in this team did on Saturday. What's your perspective on what has transpired, and has your in-season adjustment of what they can be changed at all through 5 weeks?
This is the first result that surprised me. We do our predictions and they're fun, but it's also we've been pretty close on most of them. This one I was way off on. So this was the first surprising game to me. Miami, I didn't think they'd have a chance. So I thought they played really well in the first half, better than I thought they would, and then the second half was more about kind of how I thought the game would go. Alabama similarly, but that's like Steve's talking about the aggressiveness. That's what keeps you in some of those games too. So that's why he didn't hire Todd Orlando to come in and play zone and not give up explosives and keep a cap. If you have a really good offense, right, and I think defense is a lot more personnel driven, and I think they've gotten better personnel, but it's still mostly It's like Georgia could play just about whatever they want, and if they're playing, if they're playing somebody bad, they could play any defense they want. They'll shut them down. It's more about what you got. But if your thought is I have a really good offense, and you're coming into USF last season after seeing the defenses there before, all right, what's the quickest way to win games? Be really aggressive on defense, play really high variance defense, be aggressive, try to force turnovers. If I get a couple extra possessions in a game, I'll win. But I would imagine I'll have to go look, but you were -2 in the turnover battle. I'd imagine against FAU last year and UAB, you were -2. So instead of getting extra possessions for yourself, you're giving them to the other team. And that coupled with not being able to move the ball, so going 3 and out a few times, that just puts your defense on the field a lot. And that's kind of how it can roll up on you. So overall, this is the first one that's surprising. The record, if you told me they're going to be 2-3 through the first 5, I would have said, okay, yep, that makes perfect sense. But this one's a little unfortunate. Now, what's great, if they come out next week and beat Memphis, it's kind of all is forgiven. Just a blip on the radar, more aberrational. I think this is really more concerning when you look back to last season and think about UAB and FAU feeling similar, where both those games felt like you're going in and had a really good chance to win, and you end up getting blown out, and you're kind of like, okay, what's going on here? But in terms of just win-loss result, this is exactly where I thought they'd be. Just didn't think this last one would be so bad. So,
yeah. And not to overstep you there, Nathan, but to me, the biggest part about this game in particular, not just because of the loss, it's literally against UAB and FAU, it was bad. Don't get me wrong, but you can kind of shake off the dust a little bit and be like, shit, that sucked, but we can move on. You had probably the worst possible thing that could possibly happen to the offense happen in this game, which is why it's kind of probably feeling a little bit worse.
Yeah, I think that's probably the next thing we need to talk about. Byrum Brown's injury status is the linchpin of the rest of this season. Bryce Archie is not the solution at quarterback. He seems like a great dude. I think they wanted to keep him. Seth, you and I know personally they wanted to make sure they retained him in the offseason. But we also know when Izzy Carter jumped into the portal, that was the one unexpected portal jumping in the offseason. And the USF was able to get him back from the portal, the rare return from the portal. We haven't seen Izzy Carter. From what I understand, and I've talked about it in the Ponderosa side, I feel very okay talking about this on Pod by the Bay. He was dealing with something earlier this season, an injury of some sort. I think I'm so sorry whoever mentioned it in the Discord. But I think they're really kind of correct when it comes to this. Throwing Izzy Carter out midstream in a blowout loss does nothing for his development. Absolutely. So, in all respect to Bryce Archie, seems like a great dude. Seemed kind of like a sacrificial lamb midstream when you're down 31-7. You trot out Izzy Carter. He takes a couple sacks. Now his confidence shot, what have you. What's happened for a redshirt freshman is basically what happens for rookie quarterbacks in the NFL. It's why Drake May has not played for the Patriots, even though he probably should start playing. He's maybe not quite ready, and you don't want to lose the confidence when you're playing against really good, solid opponents. I do think coming out of the bye week, when it's announced that Byrum Brown is missing an extended period, which I believe he is, this is just gut instinct. That injury did not look great. Like, it's high ankle of the gamut of things it could be. And now this is just straight up pure speculation. Do not cut this, snip this, whatever.
Speculation.
Like, this is like, it's at best a high ankle sprain. At best. So you're missing 4 to 6 weeks. At best. Right? At worst, it kind of looked like the Isaiah Pacheco injury from 2 weeks ago for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's out until December. So, thank you. Speculation zone. Thank you. We're going to have to – yes. Thank you so much, Seth. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what we're talking about. This is the speculation zone. I have a pretty good handle of injuries. This is what I've done for 8 years covering USF football. That is not a good injury. I would anticipate him missing at least a month. And this is just based off vibes, my 20-plus years of covering and watching football and understanding injuries, and having a best friend who's a physical therapist who I text almost weekly about what's going on. This is what happens. And Izzy Carter will be, and should be the starting quarterback coming off the bye versus Memphis on a Friday night. And I think they're going to be a little bit different. I think the scheme is going to be a little bit different to accommodate what Izzy can do. Seth, you and I have seen it in person pregame. Homeboy can spin it.
Yeah, Izzy can spin it. It looks different. You tell me if this is too far. If you just watch the balls and the throws in the air, or just the throws coming off the guy's hands, would you say that Izzy was the starter if that was all you were concerned with? I feel like it looks better off his hand than anybody else they got.
There's a velocity and crispness.
It's some tight. We're talking tight spirals.
Some tight spirals.
Yeah.
Off his hand, which presents a new element. If he can hit on those deep throws that Byrum's missed, what's weird is I think we could probably all agree Izzy Carter's probably faster than Byrum Brown.
Oh yeah,
like a lot faster. I feel pretty confident. I feel pretty confident in that statement.
Yeah, I think Byrum runs like a gazelle, which is really, really good in this offense. Izzy runs like a cheetah when he gets into the open field,
which is a lot of fun.
They used him as a gimmick receiver last year. Like, they gave him a jet sweep.
the dude's freaking fast.
Yeah,
and I think it can present new issues for opposing defenses, right? Like, I think it was forgive me for saying this on the podcast, but I think it was Joey Knight of the Tampa Bay Times who mentioned, man, when Byrum sets his feet, he is basically a statue, and it's not inaccurate.
And it's a short pocket.
Very short pocket. And with this offensive line, which is absolute garbage. Sorry, spoiler alert. You maybe want someone who's a little bit more mobile. And we'll talk about it in the Ponderosa. Someone asked about why we're not moving the pocket. Oh, brother, I've got something for you in the Ponderosa. So, hey, real quick aside, make sure you join the Ponderosa. Make sure you join. $10 a month. As I said in the Discord, unsubscribe to one. Just one. I'm not asking you to give up your entire catalog, but unsubscribe to one OnlyFans channel. Subscribe to us. And I promise you'll see weirder shit in the Ponderosa.
It'll
make you feel just as bad afterward.
You'll get that post nut clarity.
Oh my lord! See, that's way too far.
Way too far. That's not even the worst one I've cold opened on so far.
Vito, if we could like bleep that part, but just post and then just bleep that part, that'd be awesome. Subscribe to you guys. You'll get the PFF from us. You're paying for things that we're paying like hundreds of dollars for. It's just worth it, guys. I assure you of that. But Izzy can present new solutions to issues that I don't think Byrum can. And that's to say Byrum he's a 6'4" pocket passer who can just run really well. I think that'd be the best.
I think Byrum. I think we're underselling how good of a runner he is.
No, I totally get it, but I think he wants to be his favorite player of all time is Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. And I think he wants to be Aaron Rodgers, maybe without the terrible takes, but he did say like macaroni and cheese was terrible. So like maybe some terrible takes. I don't think Byrum Brown's going to say that on national television that he's been inoculated, but like there's some bad takes from Byrum Brown, especially when it comes to food. But I think he wants to mimic himself, or he looks up to Aaron Rodgers in that way when Aaron Rodgers was like athletic. He was still a pocket passer. Byrum is a lot faster than Aaron Rodgers. Let's be totally clear on that. But he wants to be the pocket passer who has to use his legs because the pocket broke down or whatever, and can make something happen with his feet. I think he'd be so happy if he was content just dotting people up and then running on occasion. It just Izzy presents a different problem for defenses, and I'll be honest, I'm excited for it. Like, we've seen what Bryce Archie can be. It's not a starting quarterback at the college level, and that's fine. Go play baseball and see if you can be a really good reliever who throws in the mid-90s.
I think if the supporting cast was a little bit better, he'd be fine. Like, I think the receiver group is not really impressed thus far this year.
The wide receivers can't get open either,
and
so there's definitely that.
So there's a bit of a, you can't block for a long time, and the receivers can't get open really quickly. That's not a great recipe, which has been disappointing. Now they've been able to gimmick them open a little bit, but you can't do that all the time.
Right.
So we saw that on Saturday. But I think he'd be all right with a better supporting cast. But I do want to see Izzy, just because his explosiveness, his pedigree was really good coming out of high school. So he's super talented. Would love to see it. But we'll see. At least they got some time to kind of let Byrum heal and then figure it out. But yeah.
Right. I mean, like, I think we said it prior to the Tulane game. Like, this bye week's is coming at the perfect time. You got to get
that's what that
Tulane
was that's my other take. Like, man, these out of conference games get them beat up coming into conference. Like, it's not been, and it's cool and all for, like, getting on TV, getting, some national recognition, but man, you're beat up when you come into the conference. It's not.
And the conference did them no favors.
No.
It's like, all right, so you just played Miami. Great. Here's Tulane.
Yeah, good luck.
Tulane with basically John Summerall, whose defense is just a ball of knives coming at you for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
God bless you. Good luck.
Well, he figured it out from 2021. I can tell you that.
Oh, brother. Last thing, we'll wrap this up. It sounds terrible because it may be the last thing I say on this podcast this week. But man, Tulane looks so good. Like, they just look phenomenal. Darian Mensah is a freaking dude.
At the beginning of the season, when there were a contingent of people clowning Tulane for having Darian Mensah start, I was like, brother, have you seen the guy? Like, first, let's be completely honest about. I wasn't on the podcast, so I can't try to. I can't get in trouble with mincing my own words here. Let's be honest. Tulane got an upgrade with John Summerall over Willie Fritz. The part about what Willie Fritz had, which was some of the offensive skill players that he was able to recruit there, and then you pick, pack, and ship John Summerall defense right under.
Yeah, that's the So you got the Willie Fritz cool offense, and then you're like, all right, ball of knives, let's bring that over. And you've got a really fun sort of defensive scheme, and man, they play freaking hard like that. Like, I mean this from all sincerity and things of that nature. Tulane is the cream of the crop. Like, they are going to run through this conference like hot knife through butter. I think I don't know if they play Navy this year, but that is a must-watch game. Those two teams look phenomenal. I'm really happy for Navy. I've always loved what the midshipmen can do. Again, triple for life. Hashtag your boy loves it. So definitely something to watch out for. I know someone asked.
Tulane plays at Navy November 16th, and then has a bye before they play Memphis on November 28th.
Shoot, USF plays Charlotte November 16th in Charlotte. I may just go to Baltimore and go I'll just go to Annapolis and just hang out there instead. Like, that's the game. If they're both undefeated, that could be a college game day site.
Well, let me give you Tulane's schedule up to Navy. At UAB versus Rice, at North Texas, at Charlotte versus Temple.
Okay. Yeah. So there's
why
a good
did we
chance
get
Tulane's 5-0 going into that game, and Navy's still undefeated. When do they play Notre Dame? Do they have Air Force before Notre Dame this season?
They have Air Force this week, I believe.
All right, so you got to get through Air Force.
Air Force has been bad. Air Force, Charlotte, then Notre Dame, then Rice, USF, Tulane, East Carolina, and then Army after the American Athletic Conference Championship.
All right, so you said Air Force, Charlotte. Notre Dame.
Yeah. That Notre Dame game is going to be a big one.
And then Tulane?
At Rice, at USF, Tulane at home. Apparently at noon on November 16th.
That'd be a phenomenal game day atmosphere. However, if Navy is undefeated up to Notre Dame, that could probably be it. They do it off-site, right? Or is it home and home?
They're playing in East Rutherford, New Jersey. So I'm assuming they're playing in
a Giant Stadium.
Yeah, MetLife or whatever it's called now.
Not as fun. I don't think College Game Day would go there, but
they might.
Yeah, that's just a fun atmosphere. Watch out for Navy this year, folks. Also, Army they are not on your schedule, but bag of freaking knives. They are really freaking good.
Danny Verpale.
Sean Cronin, defensive line coach.
Friends of the show.
I don't know if Sean is a big fan, but I know Danny Verpale is. So they know how to freaking win at Army and Navy. So, yeah, that's it from a Pod by the Bay. We will get into the nitty gritty on the Ponderosa. Please make sure you like, subscribe, tell your friends. I promise you, it's still the best value for your a buck. If you're a fan of USF and college football, I will tease this. There's something happening on Wednesday that is going to be pretty freaking cool for the folks of the Bay Area Examiner and the Bay Area Examiner world at large. So with that, go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.